Hello. Hi, Terry. Good to see you today. How's everybody? Come on in, come on in. Join the fun and creative mess today. Hello, Peggy. Hi, Joan. How's the UK today, Joan? I hope it's doing okay there. Hey, Dorothy. I am good. It's been a wild and crazy and fun week this week. Totally. So come on in. Well, everybody's kind of getting settled and getting their place to sit with their beverage of choice. I'm just going to ink around the edges of some pieces of paper. So yes, it is definitely today. It looks like fall is here. It is cooler. I mean, last night when we went down to I don't know, it looks to me like it's a lake. Elton calls it a pond. Looks to me like it's a lake where the guys were fishing. It was cold enough, chilly enough. I had to get a sweatshirt out of my car and put it on. I learned years ago to always carry extra clothes in my car. I surely did. So thank goodness for that, because I frequently put that thing on. I carry a sweatshirt or a sweater or something in my car all the time, because even in the summer when it is really, really hot and humid here, when I go to the grocery store or shopping some places, I mean, it is so cold in those places that I have to go out, and generally I just carry something with me as I go in. Sometimes at church it's even like that, and I'm like, holy moly, can't imagine your air conditioning bill. Yeah, that can definitely give you second thoughts about how cold you keep your place when you have to sit down or you have to grab a sweatshirt or a flannel shirt or something to keep yourself from freezing to death. Any of you have that issue? A few years ago I didn't have that issue. A few years ago it's like, if I can go in here without any clothes on at all, I'll probably be comfortable. You all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you've had a warm weather day today, Joan? Wow. UK is great, Dorothy says. Oh, you went to the Oktoberfest last night? Yeah, it's crazy. Sweatshirt, really, you really need to have one. Oh, I'm so glad, Dorothy. Joan doesn't like cold weather. Well, I'm not crazy about cold weather either, but, you know, at least I can layer up when it's cold. Hey, Carla. Yeah, at least when it's cold, you can put layers on, you know, and you can make yourself warmer. When it's really hot, it's just hard to get comfortable, you know what I mean? Especially with the humidity, which we've had some hot days and a few hot weeks here, but I mean, honestly, it hasn't been all that bad. If you take all of the weeks out of the year and you figure out the percentage of how many weeks out of the year are really hot and miserable, it's not that many. It's just during the time that it's miserable, you just feel like it's going to last forever. So anyway, it was nice last night to have to put on a little sweatshirt and put my hands in the pockets, and I thought, this fall isn't, you just have that feeling, fall has a particular ambiance about it. Hello, Dana. I'm glad to see you. Carla, how are you doing anyway? Things going okay in your life, I hope. And one of these pieces of paper is not like the others. We'll talk about that in a minute. The weight of paper varies, doesn't it? And I went in and had some color copies made, and boy, one of these is not like the other ones at all. It is flimsy, and it even was color copy paper, but there must have been one that snuck in from somewhere. So we still have company, and our little 1-year-old who is visiting us with his parents he is getting comfortable here, and he got to see fish for the first time last night. Fish, wiggling around and stuff. He's a funny little guy. Funny little guy. I hope you're all doing well. Oh, Carla, I'm sorry. Those are difficult. Elton is an attorney, still practicing, and he works in he works in estate trust and estate work mostly, and most of the time that involves family issues. Not always. But boy, some of them can get tricky. Yeah, some of those family things can be real tricky to navigate. He fortunately is very good at it, and is fortunately he's really good at it. But whew, I'm telling you, some of the stuff, and of course he doesn't give me any details because that would not be ethical. But he will give me situations sometimes, and I never know who he's talking about or what's going on. But he's very careful about what he says, extremely careful. So I never know who he's talking about. But sometimes I always talk about situations from the past, and some of the things that he's had to deal with. And I'm like, whoo, a good thing it's you and not me. It's a good thing. Yeah, because those are tricky. He's handled some real tricky situations. Yeah. But, that's what he's supposed to do, right? That's what he's supposed to do. Okay. So, those will be dry and ready to go here in a second. Yeah, so our little 1-year-old, he'll actually be 1 next week. The visitor, our little visitor, and he is a big guy, let me tell you, but he is so cute, and he says mama, and he likes his mama a lot, and he's not walking yet, but he is crawling like a madman, let me just tell you. He crawls on his 2 hands and 1 knee, and his other leg gets up and he uses his foot, and man, he just goes like the wind. I've never seen a baby crawl any faster than this one. Anyway, yeah, it's hard when you just can't do anything. Hi, Barbara Clark. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're here. Sorting scraps. Good. There's always something you can do. When you're immobilized, there's always something you can do, like sorting scraps, or looking at scraps, or folding scraps, like fabric scraps. Sometimes my fabric gets in this huge mess, and so when nothing else works, sometimes I fold scraps, Let's see. Good job, Barbara. Good job on that. Jelly plate prints. Oh, cool. Hi, Tia. Boy, Tia, I haven't seen you in a long time in the chat. I'm glad you're here. That's great. Yeah, it's those extra hours. You know what? We would just be more exhausted if we had more hours in the day. I think. So I think 24 is probably a good amount. Started grid journaling. That's great. Grid journaling. I'm gonna have to look at that. Hello, Artie Dar. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, think I'm caught up. So, one thing I wanted to address, and this is not for you guys that are here, because if you didn't want to be here, you wouldn't be here, but I periodically have to address this issue. So I'll just hit it head on. Periodically, I get some cranky comments about people. It's almost always a backhanded comment about how somebody likes what I do, but they don't want me to spend so much time doing it. And sometimes I've actually had people tell me that I waste their time because they don't like the chit chat at the beginning, and they don't like how long it takes me to do things, and so forth and so on. So here's what I have to say about that. There's always going to be chit chat at the beginning of a stream. I do live streams. There's always going to be chit chat at the beginning because that gives people a chance to get in. Not everybody gets the notification at exactly the same time, or some people don't think about what day it is or what time it is, and all of a sudden they go, oh, I'm going to go watch blah, 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 right? And so I just want to say, if you don't like the chit chat and you're watching the recording, fast forward. It's easy to do. There's a little slider at the bottom of the window. You can drag that over, or you can, if you're on an iPad, a tablet, or a phone, you can double click on the side of the screen in the window, double click, and that will advance the video by 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever it is. Or if you touch the screen, up will come a little marking on the screen that you can touch something that will take you to the next video. So you don't even have to waste your time. So what I have to say is there is going to be chit chat. There's always going to be chit chat. And sometimes there's going to be more chit chat than other times. So that's going to happen. Secondly, if you're watching the recording and you don't want to scroll past it, that's okay. But know that the format that I choose and that we use here is one of conversation. And sometimes we get off in the weeds about something, and other times we don't. Other times we go streaking through a project and get it. But I'm not going to hurry. It's not in my nature. It's not going to happen. I don't edit the videos. I'm not going to go back and edit a live stream. It wouldn't make much sense if I did. And I would have to voice it over and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. So if you don't like the way I do it, you don't have to watch, and that's okay. You know, I love it if you do, but if you don't want to, it's okay. So this comes up every so often, and so when it comes up, it's like, nah, I got to just say it. Okay? So there you go. Hello, Sharon. Let's see, anybody else? And usually when people say stuff in the comments and that after the fact, they're not being ugly. They just don't want me to waste their time. Anyway, there you go. Okay, enough about that. So the last couple of times that we've been together, we've been doing, I did bleeding tissue paper on watercolor cards. These are about 5 by 7 cards. Not exactly, but You know, they're pretty close to 5x7 watercolor cards. They're from Strathmore. They're 140-pound pre-folded, pre-cut, pre-folded cards and envelopes. And I buy them at Amazon, 100 in a box, or you can usually go to a craft store and buy like 10. I think they come 10 or 15 in a, let's see, what do they come? I have a box right here. 10. So you can get them like this, or you can get them in a box of 100, which is what I have. Or you can make your own, of course, right? Absolutely. So you can make them yourself. I think it's just a whole lot easier to buy the pre-folded things. They're pre-scored. A lot of times they're not pre-folded. You can go to the craft store or online. You can order the smaller size pre-folded, and those really are pre-folded colored cards, so that the color is on the outside and they're white on the inside. So they're great for note cards, but they're smaller than these. I think it's worth the money, but you know, that's me. If you prefer to make your own, fold your own, cut your own, and all that kind of stuff, hey, that is fine too. So we were using bleeding tissue paper in different ways to create different kinds of effects and backgrounds, just to see what it would do. And then I did some stamping on some, and we played around a little bit with the stamping and coloring using different kinds of mediums. We did water-soluble pastels, chalk pastels, which you don't have to buy those to use to activate pastels with water. You can activate any pastel with water, but if they don't have a binder in them, they're going to brush right off. You'll have to seal them. The ones I was using tend to stick to the surface. And then after I did a bunch of stamping, and we did a couple of those online together here. This was one that we did. Okay, so we did this one. So those are stamps by Diane Reevely. This happens to be colored with the water-soluble pastels. And then this one is a combination. So the flower here was one I did on another card, and I didn't like the way it turned out. It was the leaves that, I don't know. You know, every once in a while you just draw something and you go, that is like homemade, terrible, ugly. Like real ugly. And that's what that was. So I cut the flower out, cut the stem off right here, put it on here, added some stamping, again Diane Reevely stamps that I just used, and colored in with chalks and so forth, or the pastels. So I just took what I didn't like, cut it out, repurposed it, stuck it on another background. Then this one that we did on Monday night, Labor Day night, this one, the background is also the bleeding tissue paper. Oh, brain, start working. And this, then what I did was took a pencil and I just found the flower shapes that were inside here. It's kind of like when we have done mandalas in the past, where I've put color on a surface, let it bleed and do its thing, and then I created the mandala out of whatever I saw. This one is just flower shapes that happen to be inside the background. And then I went in and detailed it with some Inktense pencils and some pens, and then around the flowers, in order to bring them out, I used an Inktense pencil and activated it to pop the flowers out. Okay? All right. Then I thought, well, let's go to, before I do anything else to this, because this is a card, I have not inked the edges or anything. So it's like, before I do that, I'm going to go to the copy store and I'm going to see how they copy. Okay? This stack is the copy. This is the original. Now I'm going to tip them up so at the same angle you'll be able to see them. There are some differences. This one, there's not as much shading that comes through as on the original. But you know, it's a very reasonable rendition of the original. And so what I did then was I had several copies made, and one of these is real thin. This one, I'm telling you, this is so thin. I mean, I don't know what weight paper this is, but it is like, it is completely different paper. I know you probably can't see it, but it is, if I hold it up, you can almost see through it. It's so thin. It's a color copy paper. It was done on a color copy machine. Anyway, that one will probably get used for something else. So I thought what we would do is just quickly make some cards. It really isn't. It really isn't bad. And so what that allows you to do is to quickly make more cards instead of having, because this took us like, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours. And that was after I had drawn the flowers on the card. It took like 2.5 hours, I guess, the other night to do the color work on it. Of course, I'm yakking and carrying on, so, you know, there is that. So what I have done to these so far, other than cut them out, is I have used cobalt blue archival ink, and I have inked around the edges of the color copies just to help give them a little something extra. But then what I want to do is I want to ink around the cards themselves. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay, Carla. Use your time, girl. Use your time. Okay, so here we go. Let's do one with magenta. What is this? Magenta hue. These are all archival inks, which means they are permanent. So if the envelope gets a little bit damp, it should not run. If the envelope becomes damp, the ink shouldn't run, which could happen if it was distress ink, but you know, homemade, handmade, individually made, however you would like to describe it, things, you know, can easily get damaged. And if you're afraid that that's going to happen, my suggestion is don't mail. Don't put it out there. Just don't put it out there, you know? I think that once you create something and you put it in the mail for somebody, you just have to let go of what happens. All right, so that is magenta hue, and then I'm going to come back with the cobalt blue, and my sponge is it has seen better days here. And I'm just going to touch the edge of it. So it will get a little bit of a two-toned effect with the magenta hue and then a little bit of the cobalt. If you're doing this kind of stuff, I recommend that you always keep some sort of sticky something at the ready so that you can pick up the crumbs from whatever comes off of your little sponge things. And then we're going to put this on the front. Now, the shape of it is just slightly different. I don't think it's enough for you to really pick up too much, but it's, you know, maybe a little bit narrower than it is tall, but it's, you know, it's good enough. Okay, so what we're going to do is, okay, as soon as my advanced tape glider decides to work, okay, why are you being a pain? All right, there we go. I think we're going to work now. No. I don't know what happened to my tape here. Here we go. Sometimes when you don't use your tools for a while, things get a little out of sorts, and that's apparently what has happened to my advanced tape glider. Alright. I mean, that is stickier tape than I have had with this for quite a while, so we're just going to kind of still looks like it's okay from the front, so that's good. Alright, let's see if we can go the other way and sneak up on it and get some tape on there. Good enough. The advanced tape gliders were designed, oh goodness, they were designed to be used in the picture framing business. Alright, let's see if we can get going here. You are safest if you stand up over your work to put these on. You got a better shot at getting them straight. And you know, I don't worry a whole lot about how perfect they are. Perfect is highly overrated. I do the best I can, and then I don't worry about the rest. This is a Teflon bone folder, is what I'm using here. This thing. It does not shine your paper, and I happen to really like that fact. Okay, so with some struggle we got one done. Okay, so let's quickly do the rest of these and go from there. So the other one that I have, alright, where did my little sponge go? Hold on just a minute. Alright. You know how you can lose stuff right in front of yourself? That is exactly what I just did. Alright, then we're going to go just to this one. Even though this says magenta hue on it, it is not. This is deep purple. It's because I picked up the magenta hue sponge one day accidentally and got deep purple on it, and you can't really go back to the pink again. And I have no idea where my sponge that I just had disappeared to. It's floating on my desk somewhere. Anyway, we'll just use purple for now. You got to see one with magenta hue. Now we're going to do one with purple. And the nice thing about the archival ink is that it dries immediately on this watercolor cardstock. And oh, here it is. It's stuck. I'm gonna stop heat. It's stuck to the tape. I must be having a moment today. I must be having a moment where everything is sticking to everything except where I want it to stick. Alright, let's see if our tape glider is going to work. Oh, better. Alright. I have score tape, or the heavy double-sided tape, but it really is not necessary for this lightweight paper. But if all else fails, we will go to that to use. All of a sudden everything felt like a tar baby, if you know what I mean, where you touch it and you start sticking to every other thing. Yeah, alright, let's see if we can do this. And then we might add some sentiments to this, and then we'll kind of go from there and see. See what happens next. If you use the bone folder this Teflon bone folder on the side, you can cover a lot of ground quickly. All right, so let's see if you can tell the difference in these two. This one has the magenta and then a touch of cobalt blue around it. This one has the deep purple around it. So it gives two different looks. They're subtle, but it gives you a couple of different looks. And as you can tell, I'm not super precise about the inking. I just like to have the ink on it to frame it. Okay, let's do some more, shall we? I have three more to do, so let's go for it. I'm just gonna go with the purple because it's just one inking, so we're gonna go with the purple. So this is deep purple archival ink. So last night, Elton and our guests went fishing, and they caught some bass, some largemouth bass. And so apparently we're going to be having some bass. We're going to fix, in the words of Claus Man, we're going to fix a mess of fish. Yeah. We're going to fix us a mess of fish, and I think we're having that tomorrow night. They're fishing again now because, okay, here's what they had to do. They had to go get worms, which I didn't even know you could buy worms. That's how dumb I am when it comes to fishing. But they had to go buy, you can buy worms in a little container. And these are some pretty good sized worms, let me tell you. They're night crawlers. Tell you, I don't know a whole lot about that stuff, but anyway. And so they fished last night until they ran out of daylight. And then I'm just talking to you while I ink around the edges of these cards. You're not missing anything by not seeing what I'm doing, because this is what I'm doing. Anyway, they ran out of daylight. We went down to the water so that our little one could see, he could see the fish and everything. And I'd been working and missed the text about, could you bring us something to drink, until like an hour later. Better late than never, I always say. And so we got down there. Well, anyway, they fished, and they caught a couple fish even after we got there. And one of the fish, they had him in a bucket, 5-gallon bucket. One of them decided he wasn't going to be eaten for dinner, and so he jumped out of the bucket, and it was on a hillside. I didn't see this happen, but I wish I had, because it did make me laugh. The fish flopped its way out of the bucket and then flopped its way down the hillside, and before either of the men could get out of their stance, whatever they were doing, I don't know if they were standing or sitting, or I don't know what they were doing, but anyway, before they could get back up the hill to rescue the fish and put it back in the bucket, it had flopped its way right on down the hill and into the water and swam away. I wish I could have seen that, because I think that might have been entertaining to watch these two grown men trying to scurry up the hill to rescue the fish that they caught, which of course, you know, it's the one that got away. Don't you know that was a really nice fish, of course. And that fish wasn't going home. Now, I don't know, they could have caught it later, but I don't know, because they did catch some fish after that. But anyway, that fish wasn't going home, and it didn't. But I think that would have been quite entertaining to watch, don't you? It was a great escape, wasn't it? Doesn't that sound like the greatest of escapes? The fish that got away. So, anyway, but the point is they ran out of daylight. And so the worms that were left, I don't know how many are in, I don't know how you buy worms. I don't know how many come in a thing. And furthermore, would you count them anyway to make sure you got your money? So I don't know. Like I said, not my thing. Anyway, the worms came home, and the worms were in the container with the lid on, because I've told you the story of my son and the corn worms in the past. I've told you that story about the corn worms that came home in an open container when we were freezing corn one year, and the corn, or there are worms that like to get in the corn, and those corn worms were rescued by my son. He was quite small. They got rescued and brought home, and I don't know what he was planning to do with said worms, but nor did I know that those worms in an open can had been put in my refrigerator, but they had. And then he was very upset with me because I had gotten rid of his worms. Or the exact question was, what did you do with my worms? What worms? Anyway, fortunately these worms were in a closed container. But there were more. The point of this dumb story is that there were more worms left than there was daylight. So guess what the men had to do today? This was after they did some other stuff this morning. Guess what they had to do today? They had to go finish up using the worms. Now, I'm just going to guess, and that's all it is, but I'm going to guess that the fish were probably biting really well, and they probably used up all the worms, and I bet they had to take a trip into the store where they bought the worms, and I'm just gonna guess. It's just a guess, guys. I don't know, but I just wonder if they had to go get some more worms. This is like trying to come out even with peanut butter and jelly, right? Or ketchup and French fries or whatever, you know. There's just not going to be any way it's ever going to come out even, but they're having a good time, so that's what it's about. That one that got away. I mean, can you imagine? I wish I had seen that. When they were telling me that story last night, I'm like, you mean the fish actually got out of the bucket and got itself down the hill and back in the water? Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, go fish, you know. I managed to get some of those little spongy things on the inside of the cards, you know. And here's what happens if you take the roller like this, the lint roller that has little spongy things that has ink on it. Here, let's see if it'll work. And if you take that and you roll it around on the inside of the card, you end up speckling the inside of your card on purpose. See? So you speckle the inside of your card. That way, as Shannon Green used to say, it's an effect and not a mistake. Okay? So let's do an effect until these run out of ink. Until our little spongy, inky, spongy bits that I picked up on the roller so that I wouldn't put ink all over the place. We're just going to make them wring out every little bit of their inky existence to create an effect. There you go. There you go. Okay? All right. You're welcome. You're welcome for that. For that little tip I just gave you. I bet none of you ever thought about that before. Anyway. All right, let's see if we can finish these cards up. What else can I tell you? VIP class is tomorrow. Your information has gone out. Check your email. We are going to be making some changes to the membership and to the website. That is coming. Just stay tuned for that. I think that people are going to be super happy with the changes. But that's coming up. Okay, let me see if I can get this on here kind of straight. Race and I worked on that when I was in California. And okay, there's that one. All right, I lost my chat. Hold on a minute. Hold the phone. There we go. All right. I'm just going to stay here. Pardon my head. Let's see if we can. All right. I'm going to put the tape on the insert, and then I'll tape it where you can, or I'll add it to the card where you can see it. Anyway, as I was saying, VIP class is tomorrow. Your email, check your email for information. So I've been prepping for that this week. Plus we had our shrimp boil this week on Monday, which was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. It was really good. The weather could not have been more perfect. We just had a really good time. It was really good. Okay, so there's that one. So we have 4 at the moment, and I don't know, we might use this flimsy one. We might put it on one, even though I wasn't sure. Dorothy's making alphabet soup. Yep, they had to go use the worms, you know, because we don't want the worms. We don't want the worms to go to waste. And I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And since we're going to eat the fish, I'm okay with that. And we ran out of tape. Don't you just know that is the law of streaming. That's the law of streaming. And I haven't a refill to put in this thing, but if you think I'm doing that on camera, you are incorrect. You are not correct about that. So we're going to use some double-sided tape that I have, which will take a little bit longer, but it's not going to be that much worse. Okay? All right. So this is the kind of tape that you have to put on in kind of a 2-step process. So it has a paper backing. This is the tape that Nick the Book Smith Nick the Book Smith recommends. It's a double-sided tape that you get on Amazon. It is similar to score tape, but is not as pricey as score tape. But it is paper-backed like score tape. So you got to put it on, and then you got to pull the tape paper backing off. So it's not that much more of a pain than the advanced tape glider, but it is a little bit. Alright, let's see if we can put this one on here, you guys. It is very sticky, however. I mean, it is a one and done situation, so once you put it on there, it's gonna stick. Okay, so there's that one. And then we've got one more to do. Hello, Julia. Good to have you join us. I've been watching all of your lives, and when you referred to the dime store, I thought I'd fit right in. Yes. You know, when I was, speaking of dime store, okay. My name, as you all know, is Barb. That's what I've gone by for a long time. However, I always went by Barbie. Even until I was in college, I went by Barbie. I did outgrow that at some point, although people from the past, like people from when I was in college and high school and stuff especially, like to still refer to me that way. It's not my favorite, but you know, that's the way we all are. We have our favorite things. Anyway, I loved Barbie dolls, and that will start a whole discussion, I'm sure, about people who hate the Barbie doll and those who love the Barbie doll. I was in the camp of I loved them, and I used to sew for them. I sewed an entire wedding outfit party. I mean, I did the bridesmaids, the wedding dress, the tuxedo for Ken, the whole bit, the flower girl dress. I did the whole wedding. Not that I had enough dolls to do a whole wedding, because back when I was doing the Barbie doll, Barbie and Ken and Midge and Skipper and all of those, Alan, who was Midge's boyfriend, back in those days, you bought a Barbie doll. It's not like, you know, a few years later where you bought this Barbie and that Barbie and all of that. So anyway, when I was a kid, when I was little, before I was really sewing for them, there was a dime store. I don't remember the name of it, but there was a dime store. And you could go in there, and it was the kind of store where they had the shelf units and there were the bins, you know, where the product that came in was just put in the bins, and a price was put on it. So there wasn't as much packaging and stuff as there is now by all of that. Anyway, I'd save my allowance as much as I possibly could, so that I could go in and I could buy the accessory things for the Barbie dolls. And I did. I certainly did buy all those things. And back then, the dresses and the outfits all came, for me, they were very expensive on a, 50, 25 cents, whatever, a week allowance. And they came, those kinds of things, the Mattel outfits were packaged with bubble wrap because they had the shoes and they had the accessories and the whole bit. If you wanted just, the off-brand stuff, you could just go in and buy the off-brand stuff. But if you wanted the real Barbie stuff, you had to save your money and go in there and buy it, which I did. And then in the package with the dress, there would be a little color magazine sort of thing that would show you all the other outfits that you want to save your money for, that you want to get. Okay? Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, that was the way it was back then. Okay, when you're working with score tape, this is, I know a lot of you know this, but there may be some that don't. Score tape, or the score tape like tape that has the paper backings, if you'll peel it off opposite corners, just get it started. In the middle part, I have some stripes of it. I peeled the backing off of those. But if you just kind of get it started, you can line up the corners that don't have the paper backing, and I still didn't do a great job lining it up. But once you get it lined up, then you can pull off the paper backings, and then you can press them down. This was that real flimsy piece of paper. Okay, this is probably the worst lining up job I've ever done. Can you see that? I'm going to blame it on the flimsy paper. That'll probably go in the reject pile. But or I'll send it to somebody that doesn't know cards. All right. Let's put some sentiments on the other ones. And I'll put some good ones and I'll put some snarky ones. So anyway, dime stores were my friends when I was a kid. I loved the dime store. I really did. I really did. You used to have a soda fountain in some of those dime stores. You go sit up to the bar. Yeah. Okay. Sit up to the bar and have a Coke. All right, let's do, how many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, we have 5 cards. We'll do some nice ones, and we'll do some snarky ones, okay? I hope you don't mind that. Let's see, is this? Yeah, okay, that's the same as these. All right. You know, even if the card is a nice card, to have this one that's a reject, we may just put snark all over it. That probably is the best thing I can do for that. All right, let's find some nice things to put on this. Okay, so I'm gonna just use a little bit of black ink and put on the edge here, just because the edge of the paper is white. And I usually, let's try glue stick. Usually add some glue to these because I find that the glue is not strong enough to keep them on the cards. Okay, so this says choose to see the good. I'm just going to stick it here. Also, the other thing is that if you have the glue stick on the back, it gives you just a little bit of time, a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, so hey Kathy, good to see you. All right, and so this is adding a second little thing. These are not meant to go together, but I like it. It says come what may, choose to see the good. So I like putting things like that together that maybe are not meant to go together, but I like doing that. Okay, let's do another nice one. This one, well, let's see. Here you go. I like this one. I like to send cards to people who need a little bit of encouragement. And so that means I try to find something that would be considered encouraging, unless I do keep a few of the just, you know, snarky ones, just because. And of course, I'm trying to make this straighten up a little bit. Only when they'll only stick when you don't want them to. Okay, that's good enough. This one is Be Brave with Your Life. Okay, and I like to put the sentiments in places that are not necessarily ones, not necessarily a placement that everybody would choose. This is a good one. This is not snarky, but it almost strikes me as snarky. I just like to put black around the edge just because I think it gets rid of that white paper edge. This is kind of what these backgrounds remind me of. Embrace beautiful chaos. That is an oxymoron if there ever was one. And that wasn't even in the snarky pile. All right, let's see if we can find a couple of snarky ones that are not too inappropriate. Here, this one's a good one. All right. I like the snarky ones that particularly poke fun at me. That's another thing that sometimes gets me in trouble with some commenters on YouTube, is I'm poking fun at me and they think I'm poking, I don't know, for some reason they take it personally. And I don't get a lot of, you know, really negative comments, but every once in a while I'd get one and I'm like, I don't even know how you come up with that. You know, because I'm poking fun at myself. Well, I do that when I make cards also, as I poke fun at myself. All right, so putting on some glue stick. And then let's see where we're going to put this. Yeah, let's see if I can do it up here and get it relatively straight. And some people put these on the inside of the cards. I like putting them on the outside. Okay, this is from the Snarky Pack. Been there, done that. Then, been there several more times because apparently I never learn. You know what? If I don't make anybody else laugh, I think it's funny. I like that one. All right, let's find another one. Yeah, this one's good. This is so typical of me. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna work on another card. We're gonna do that one that I did not like the way that the base turned out, and I ended up liking it once I got the stamping on it. I'm like, you know, I actually like this a lot. That's why you shouldn't judge your work. You shouldn't judge it. You should just keep going until you're finished with something. And then if you still don't like it, then put it away, because most of the time you'll like it better after you put it away and look at it. All right, I'm going to stick this one up here. Okay, so here's this one. From a procrastination standpoint, today has been wildly successful. Yep. Yep. Wildly successful. All right, this one that is just wonkier than all get out, we're just going to fill it up with these snarky sayings, and I'm going to use the white ones because these come in white backgrounds and then black backgrounds. I tend not to use the white ones as much, so I'm going to use those. All right. So these are, this particular card, because I'm going to put a whole bunch on here, this one's going to have to go to the exact right person, because this could, based on the fact that I'm just going to pick things off of the sheet kind of randomly, it could be a little offensive to someone, so I will have to pick carefully who this goes to. In other words, I could give this to Elton with no problem at all, because he and I both think things like this are really funny. All right, who left the bag of idiots open? By the time I'm done with this, I will have ink and glue all over my hands. So I'm going to have to take a moment to clean my hands up before we go on to something else. But you know what? If you guys don't laugh a little bit, you're taking life too seriously. You know? You got to loosen up. Hang on, let me overthink this. That is me. Yeah. Okay, this one I absolutely love. I have bought these snarky sentiments several times. I like Diane Reevely's snarky sentiments too, but sometimes I'm like, the only place I can use those is in my journal. Sometimes I can't even use some of the ones she does. I don't even feel comfortable putting them on a card. Not that they're bad. They're just, you know, when I think about people I can send them to, it's like, yeah, I can't send those to my regular people I send cards to. In my defense, I was left unsupervised. Yes. Okay. I do find them, you know, if they make you laugh, while you're making them, all right, I'm gonna have to cut this, because there's no way I'm ever gonna get this in two pieces on. Now, a lot of you here are going to laugh at this one. And if anybody is offended at this one, get over it. Okay? Just get over it. Because it's funny. Think back to the pandemic if you can't. Because that's what this should remind you of. If it requires pants or a bra, oh, my hands are getting gluey and inky already. All right, so that's the first part of it. So it is, if it requires pants or a bra, it's not happening today. Do any of you watch Arna and Carlos? They're the guys that, knitting guys. they used to talk about how they looked when they were streaming. And some of the stuff that they would talk about, they would have on their pajama bottoms while they were in meetings. They'd look really nice from here up, but then they have on pajama bottoms. Yeah, during the pandemic stuff. All right, let me do one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put this one on, then we'll call it good. This will probably be my favorite card, as it's wonky and full of snark. You like him, Dorothy? Good. I'm glad you do. Some people do a really wonderful job about lettering their cards and putting on wonderful sentiments and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just slap something on, call it good. I know. All right, here's this one. We're going to put this one right here. Okay. Number 1, who left the bag of idiots open? Hang on, let me overthink this. In my defense, I was left unsupervised. If it requires pants or a bra, it's not happening today. And a penny for your thoughts seems a little pricey. Okay? If that doesn't make you laugh a little bit, or at least smile, or at least go, she's ridiculous, I haven't done my job. I haven't done my job. If you did laugh a little bit, if you did smile a little bit, then I did do my job today. All right. What is going on here? I lost my chat. Restore chat, honestly. I think the gremlins are out today. They're messing with me. Taking my supplies and hiding my chat and oh goodness, all kinds of stuff. I like that one. That's my favorite one. Yeah, that's my favorite. All right, I'm trying to get the ink and the glue off my hands here. I gotta find the rest of my baby wipes are here somewhere. Have you guys heard of water wipes? I saw Elizabeth St. Hilaire using those the other day. I'd never heard of those before. They're not baby wipes, they're water wipes. Have you heard of those? Any of you guys use those? All right. I think I got the ink off my hands. I'd never heard of them. It's the first time I'd ever even known anything about them. Anyway, all right. So let's run through those quickly and then let's go to a new one. Yes, you've heard of them? Have you tried them? Are they expensive? I know, so many questions. Too many questions, Barb. Okay, so here's our stash of cards that we did so far. And it's only $2.09. You guys are good. I almost said something bad. Well, no, I will be nice. I will be good. Okay? So here you go. Been there, done that, then been there several more times because apparently I never learn. They are good? Okay. Where do you get them, Dorothy? Do you order them from Amazon? Joan uses baby wipes. I just never even heard of them before. This is Come What May, Choose to See the Good. See, that's a nice one. That's a nice one for somebody. From a procrastination standpoint, today has been wildly successful. Yes. Be brave with your life. That's a good one. Oops. Twofer. Embrace beautiful chaos. Okay, so there's that one. Embrace beautiful chaos. And you can see by moving where you put the little sentiment strip around, you get a different look. Amazon. Okay. And then this was the snarky one. Who left the bag of idiots open? Hang on, let me overthink this. In my defense, I was left unsupervised. If it requires a pants or a bra, it's not happening today. And a penny for your thoughts seems a little pricey. So if you have a wonky card, you know, this did not go on straight. If you have a wonky card, then just embrace the wonk. Okay? Okay. $4.49 for a pack of 10. Oh, pack of 60 at Target. Made for babies and people like me with extremely sensitive skin. I'll be darned. I had no idea. $4.49 for 60. That actually would last me quite a while because I don't go through baby wipes super often. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Okay. So, I was thinking that we would work on this little card. And again, it's the same thing which we did before. It is, but this is the one that I hated the background on it. But after I stamped it, you know, put some stamping on it, it turned out okay. I'm all right with it. So don't judge your work too harshly. In other words, give it a chance and wait and see how it turns out. Okay? All right. So we're going to just dig into my little box of stuff that I picked up off the table the other Monday night. And we're going to just use what's in this box. I am not going to get out anything else. At least I'm going to try really hard not to. Sorry if that was too noisy. We're going to try to do this right here, like with whatever I have. So first of all, let me just kind of do a quick sort and put like things together. So I'm going to put my King Art pens together. These are just various tip sizes of black ink. I have a few Posca pens just in black and white, a couple of different tip sizes. Some of them were working well, some of them were not. So we're going to put those over there. I have a gold paint pen. This is the gold marker from Pilot. I have several water pens. I have a Uniball Vision Elite pen. They come in a pack like this. They work on a variety. This is a 0.5 millimeter tip. They work on a variety of surfaces. They need, if you use a non-porous surface like, or a porous surface like the paper, they dry better, I think. And then I have this assortment of colors of my Inktense pencils pulled out. So we're going to play with those, okay? So that's what we have. And I have a paper towel, and then we're going to go from there. All right, let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's start over here with these circles, and let's just put some color on those circles, and we're not going to pay too much attention to what they are. We're just going to, let's see, what do we want to do? Let's put some stripes. I don't know how the stripes will work, and so it doesn't really matter. We're just going to put some color in here. Ooh, this needs to be sharpened. Goodness sakes, that needs to be sharpened. So we'll give it a quick sharpen. You like this one? Silly looking. This silly looking card. This is a combination of Diane Reevely stamps. All of these are. Okay, let's do an orange. So I'm just putting some Inktense. It's kind of like whatever happens to grab me at the when I pick something up. And then we're going to activate the pigment with water, and these that with the stripes may all go one color, and I'm okay with that. I am 100% okay with that. This is what, a purple. This is thistle. Okay, let's put thistle down here. Thistle is a purple. And then how about if we do whatever this color is. This is burnt orange. We'll put some burnt orange in this one. That one, there's no way to fill in those little stripes very well. And then let's come down here and we'll kind of repeat some colors. So chili red. Ooh, that's a really dark one. That's probably not going to show up unless we go really dark. I don't know if this will show up, but let's just try it. We'll put some dark purple, and let's use whatever this is, golden yellow. This may or may not show up, and if it does, it may look cruddy. And then we'll use this, go back to this blue, and then this one we'll use fuchsia. Is this fuchsia? Yeah. Fuchsia is one of my very favorite colors. I love the fuchsia color in the Inktense pencils. Alright, now let's see if we can find one of these that wants to work. That one is the one that's split, so we don't want it. Let's try this one. One of these, the water does not like to come out. That's probably it. Sometimes you can clean the water brushes. They get crud down in the mechanism and you can clean them, which is great. But you know, I don't know who has time to clean water brushes, to tell you the truth. So I usually will give it one chance to straighten itself up, and then if it decides it's going to be non-functioning, it goes in the trash. It'll get a chance. I'll try to clean it once, and that's it. So Inktense pencils, if you are not familiar with them, the Inktense pigments comes several ways: pencils, blocks, and cakes. And the cakes are like watercolor cakes, you know, like Prang watercolors or Koi watercolors. You know how they'll put them in little cakes, and there are other brands, of course, that are put up that way. So you can buy those. I don't have any of the cakes. I never have bought any of those. But I have the whole set of the Inktense pencils. I got the set of 72. There may be more than that now. It seems like they came out with some new colors a while back that I did not get. The blocks come in different sizes of sets. I think I got a set of 36 or 40. I'm not sure. It wasn't the smallest set. I started out buying the smallest sets of the Inktense because they are expensive. When they first came out, they were more reasonably priced than they have become. But you can often find them on sale. Watch Blix and some of the different online retailers. Sometimes even Amazon will run a sale on them. I started out, as I blipped off into my own thoughts for a second, I started out buying the small sets. Alright, and the way that those pencils work is if you buy the set of 12 or the blocks, and you buy the set of 12 and then you go, I really like these, so I'm going to buy the set of 24, 48, or 72, or whatever the set is, the bigger set. Because I went from 12 to 24, and I went, what the heck? The set of 12 is also in the set of 24, okay? And so when that happens, that's kind of discouraging because you end up with a lot of repeats. And if you like the colors and you use them a lot, then the extra colors, the extra sticks or pencils of the same pigment, the same color, you might enjoy having the extra. On the other hand, if that annoys you, which it did me, I ended up giving them away to somebody who was just getting started in doing creative things, because I felt like that was a better use of them than to keep them and have them annoy me just because of the fact that the colors were repeated. So just know that you're going to get repeats, okay? Just know that. My advice to you is, if you think you're going to be interested in the Inktense pen products, which I personally like, some people don't like them, I really like them. If you think you're going to be interested in them, I say save your money and buy a bigger set rather than go small and then try to save money to go to a bigger set. So do water pens require distilled water? It probably would be ideal to use distilled water. I just use tap water, but probably it would be ideal to use distilled water. Okay. So all I've done is just to activate those, but the pigment does get it. They come by their name. Honestly, it is intense. They are ink in a pencil or block form, and it is intense, hence the name Inktense. And if you fully activate all the pigment and then let it dry, in theory, and I always have to say this because some people will argue about it, in theory, they will dry and become permanent on a porous surface like paper. On non-porous surfaces, things that are sealed, like something that has matte medium or gloss medium or whatever, something that has a sealing over the paper, they may not ever fully activate because they got to absorb, give it a chance to let it absorb into the paper or into the surface. Like wood, you can also use them on fabric, but again, that's an absorbent surface, and so they'll work. But you do have to fully, I can't say that enough, you have to fully and completely activate all the pigment for it to become, and then let it dry for it to become permanent. Alright, but when I'm doing cards and stuff, I don't really care. Okay, so there you go. Alright, so we're going to work on this little girl, and I'm going to use, I've set the pencils aside that I was working on. In order to make this continue to kind of go together, I'm going to try to use the same set of pencil colors that I randomly chose for this. I'm going to try to use on her, so we'll make it somewhat cohesive. I could always deviate from that a little bit, but I'm going to try not to too much. Okay? All right. And right away I'm going to have to deviate a little bit because I need a brown, mid-vermilion. It's more red. Yeah, we'll do this one because I have it out. It's willow. So I'm going to need a brown to work here for a second. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll fill in a few things on her. So we're going to give her some chili red. I'm going to put just a little bit in there. I don't have to put a lot because I am going to activate with water, so it will spread around. It will spread the pigment around. Okay, I put a little blue in her eyes. I'm going to put a little bit of fuchsia I'm going to emphasize her cheeks just a little bit. Not much, because there's already some stuff happening from the tissue paper where we created the background. So I'm going to put just a little bit of pink on her cheeks, and then I'll come back and I'll maybe put something on her eyelids, some eyeshadow or something. I'm going to put, because willow is the color I have out, I'm going to put a little bit of willow where her neck touches her head and where her neck touches her shirt. Okay, just a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit of willow, not very much, a little bit of willow around her hair style. Okay, like that. And I'm going to bring a little bit of this willow down beside her nose, not on her nose, but beside her nose and under her bottom lip, just a little bit, just to give her a little bit of dimension. Okay? All right, so we got that. Let's do her hair in, we're going to do her hair in some wild colors. Just because. So I'm going to just, for the sake of time, I'm going to put some, I'm just going to pick some random, we're going to call these braids. I don't know that they're braids, but we're going to call them braids. They look kind of like dreadlocks a little bit. Don't know that that's what they're supposed to be, but and I'm just going to fill in some random braids, let's call them braids, with some random colors. So we got the blue, and what color is this? This is golden yellow, so we'll pick a golden yellow section. I'm going to have to sharpen this one too. Bye, Joan. Have a good rest of your day. All right. Sometimes people save the shavings from the pencils and use them, activate them with water. You certainly can do that. And let's do fuchsia, of course, one of my favorite colors. Did I just put that maybe right where I put the yellow? I cannot see exactly where I put the yellow, so this may be going right on top of the yellow. And you know what? It is what it is, people. It is what it is. Alright, I know I'm going over that one. You know, if you could remember from 1 second to the next, it would be helpful. And let's do a purple. This is thistle, so we'll put thistle in here. Man, I really used up some of these pencils. I don't keep these real sharp, and that's on purpose. Yeah, we'll just pretend like the yellow isn't even in there. We'll just ignore the yellow entirely. I don't keep them real sharp, and that's because I prefer to put down more pigment, and I can cover more area if the pencils are not super sharp. Okay, so we got that. Okay, for her little dress down here, I just can't resist doing fuchsia in the part of the stripy part of her sleeves. Goodness, sometimes, do you ever notice that sometimes words are hard? Alright, we'll put a little bit of purple in the stripy sections of her sleeves. And in her socks, let's put, she's going to be very colorful. We're going to put some orange in the solid stripes and chili red in the pattern sections of her socks or tights or leggings or whatever they are. Her buttons, let's use, what is this? Burnt orange for the buttons. And her collar, dusky purple. Let's see, which one is darker? I forgot. I need to test this real quickly. I can find a piece of, you know, we're just we're going to test it on the back of this card, and then we'll pretend that it was an artistic adventure. Okay, this one was thistle, right? Yeah, okay. Thistle is the lighter color. Alright. Normally I would not have done that on the thing that I'm working on, but I literally couldn't put my hand on anything else to try it. Okay, so some thistle. And then I'm going to put the darker one in here, the inside of her collar with the darker. And then let's put just a little bit of thistle down the edges of her little dress, a little bit under the collar, beside the button band or the button area, and down the other side of her little outfit. Okay? Okay. And then we're going to use a little bit of the willow, which is hanging around here. Here it is. I'll put a little bit of that right where her little hand meets her sleeve. Okay? All right. So she is fully colored now. Thanks, Barbara. Okay, so let's do her little face. So I've only put a little bit of color shading and so forth there. When it dries, you might or might not see it. I'm going to activate her little cheek color, which will emphasize what's already there from the background. And if you get too much going on, just dab it off with a paper towel, which is what I'm doing. Okay, so we give her a little blushy cheeks. I'm going to activate, I'm going to do the shading around her neck a little bit, and the shading around her hands. So I'm just touching it with the water brush. And then I'm going to move away from those areas. And so let's do her braids. or whatever these are. Sometimes you don't know what color things are going to be. Most of the time with ink tints, you really don't know what color things are going to be until they fully dry. I personally love the ink tints. Someday I'm going to spring for getting some of the cake pans. They're called pans, not cakes, pans. I just haven't done it. But people who have them really seem to like them a lot. If any of you in the chat have tried the ink tints pans, I would love to know what your experience or your opinion is of them, if you care to share. Sometimes I blend colors together, so I don't even wipe the water brush off. If you're going from light to dark, you can get away with that. If you're going dark to light, you might want to wipe off your brush a little bit, because you can overwhelm the light color a little more than you might intend to. And always, as usual, turn your work to make it comfortable for your hand. Sometimes when you're streaming, I try to keep the thing right side up, because it's more comfortable for people to look at. And then I finally give it up and just turn it, because if it's not comfortable to my hand, I don't do a decent job at all of doing whatever it is I'm doing. So make it comfortable for you to get to. Okay? All right, there's her hair, her calico hair. All right, let's do the iris of her eyes, which was blue. All right, and let's do her little mouth. So I'm just activating the pigment. Excuse me, clearing my throat. When you do nothing but talk, when you do nothing but talk, it kind of makes your throat go wonky. Even if you have one other person talking with you, it gives your voice a little bit of a rest. All right. There are people like Stacy from Pink Poodle Crafts that can get on and stream for like 10, 12 hours. I don't know how she does it. My voice would totally 100% collapse in that amount of time. I don't know how anybody does that, but kudos to them. Okay, let's come down here and do her little leggings or tights or whatever they are. Okay, and we have some little buttons. But you can see as the water hits the pigment, it does intensify it and makes it brighter. You know, and then that's where you can see where the yellow braids were because it shows up. But before, it just doesn't show very well when it's just the plain pigment, because I'm coming over a colorful background. That's why it's a little hard to make it out. If it was over a white background, that would be completely different. You'd be able to see the color. You won't know exactly how bright the color is, however, until you hit it with water. These are cute stamps. These are 2 different stamps that I put together. The head is different from the body. I put them together, and I put the head up further from the body and then extended the neck up because I wanted her face in that particular spot on the card. So I just sort of had to make it go the way I wanted it to go. And if you don't have as much pigment on an area as you thought maybe you did, it's best if you let it dry a little bit and then come back and add more, as opposed to putting more on while it's wet. It will layer better if you let the first layer dry. Okay, let's see. I don't know if we did that under her. Okay, let's do a little bit of eyeshadow. I'm going to sharpen my pencil a little bit more. This color is Sherbet Lemon, otherwise known as kind of a lime green. So we'll see if we can, and I may take this up above her eyelid just because I think it might show better if we have a little bit more up here above her eyelid. And the colors are always going to be influenced by whatever is beneath them. So whatever's in the background is going to influence whatever is happening up there. Okay, let's try. I don't know if this will work or not. Let's see if we can get this white pen to work. If we can't, I'll find another one. You know, here's what I did, Kathy. I spent a whole bunch of time on this card. Okay, so I did this card. We did this Monday night. Whoops, wrong camera. Okay, I did this card Monday night. This is the original card done on the watercolor card. So this is the original one. Then I copied it, took it to the UPS store, and I copied it. So these are color copies. And then, so once you've done the work once, then you can go in and you can copy them, color copy them. And yeah, this one took more than 2 hours to do the coloring part of it. This took, but I had them cut out when I started the stream today. I had them trimmed out of the paper. And it took what, an hour to make those cards? So I had, and that included putting the sentiments on it. I think that was six cards. So I'll do the same thing with this more than likely, is do all the work on it and then take it in and have it copied. Okay, so I don't really care how much it is if I'm going to do that, you know. Now the other thing is, sometimes I think, oh, I'm going to have this copied, which I used to live really close to the copy store, and I'll think, oh, I'm going to go do that, and then I forgot, and then I'd send the original card. That's where it breaks down. Okay, so I don't mind putting all the work in on it to start with, and then copying it, right? Okay, so let's see if we can, okay, that looks like it's going to work. All right, this is where it could all go horribly wrong, but let's try it. We'll have to come in and straighten things up with an outline. Okay, and then while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and give her a sparkle dot in her eye. Highlight inner eye. That has to dry really well, and then I'll straighten that up, clean it up. And I think, let's see, what else do I want to do? Might put some little gold let's put some little gold beads in the sections between, I don't know, whatever these are. So I'm just pretending that she's got gold beads in between her, whatever they are, dreadlocks, I don't know, braids, I don't know what they are. Now, will you see these in person? I don't know. Will you see them if the card is copied? I don't know that either. Because sometimes copied things don't show the same way with metallic things, but they might show as yellow instead of gold, and that would be okay. I can tell my body is getting hungry because my hand is kind of losing control and not always doing what my brain tells it to. I typically don't eat lunch until after I'm finished streaming. Okay. Not bad. All right. Down here on these, I think I'm going to emphasize these spirals a little bit more, make them gold. And then give her some gold polka dots on her dress, just because, which again you might or might not be able to see. And we may come back and do some black polka dots on there just to emphasize that a little bit more. All right, let's fix her eye. I can find a size marker that's gonna work. Let's see what this one does. Okay, let's try it. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. We can live with that. And let's give her a little black polka dot. That is not, it's all right. In the middle of each spiral, let's put a black polka dot. And we'll just let that, and then maybe on the buttons we'll emphasize the stitching things, and put some thread between the buttons. Okay, good enough. Another thing, what else could we do? We could use a little bit of white. And act like we put a little bit of lace around her collar. So we put a little bit of lace around her collar, and we'll call that good. Okay, so then we could do some other stuff on this, put some dots and stuff around the trim over here, or leave it. I want the emphasis mostly to be on the silly girl, who looks a little bit cross-eyed, but you know, that's how she is. So anyway, there you go. Okay, I'm not going to ink around the outside of this. I am going to take this and probably, if I can remember, get it colored copied, and then I can always add more to the copies if I want to do more emphasis on it, and ink around the edges and that kind of stuff. These make me want to do things around them, and I may still put some dots around each of the circles over here because I just really want to, but I'm not going to do it right now. So we'll let this one sit. Let's see if we can do another quick one. Maybe we'll do this one real quickly. This again was a stamp, right side up and upside down, and it didn't stamp real well, and so I went back with a pen and I just kind of doodled in the parts that didn't stamp real well. So let's put a little bit, we'll at least start on it. How about that? So let's what is this? Shiraz. Nope, that's too dark. I know I had another red here. That's mid vermilion. Where's my chili red? Honestly, how things can just disappear in front of you. Is that what's in my hand? Yep, it's what's in my hand. Ta-da. All right, let's put some, because this is up in this section, if I don't use a contrasting color, the centers won't be visible. So I'm going to use that. Okay, and let's go ahead and activate as we go this time. Let's just kind of activate the pigment as we go. Okay, and I'm just going to work on this cluster of flowers up here for now. And let's use, have tangerine and burnt orange, and I do like the way the chili red was looking, so we'll use those colors up here. So, burnt orange. just put a little bit of pigment in this flower. I'm going to use one color, and it will take on a different look depending on what's underneath it. I'm going to add a little bit more color there. To the centers, just so I can be sure and see where my flowers are. Okay. Alright, so we did the burnt orange. Let's do, down here, let's do tangerine. See if that will show up. If it doesn't, you can let it dry and come back with another color. And then maybe we'll do a little bit of let's do the vermilion on this one. No, that's Shiraz. Mid vermilion. We'll use a little mid vermilion here on these little guys. Just kind of move color around here. And maybe up here on this one that's kind of disappeared. Let's draw in a few more petals here so we can see them. Okay, and then what else do we want to do? Let's go with golden yellow here just to see. Sometimes a color shows up and sometimes it doesn't so much, and you have to come back and put something else over it. But because we have these colorful backgrounds behind, sometimes you're surprised at the fact that they will show up, you know? And then let's do whatever this is, chili red. Let's put chili red on this one. And if you vary the amount of pigment that you put down, you can get different effects also. So you can use the same color, but just don't put the same amount of pigment. Okay, so now we've got those flowers. I think we have all but this one maybe. I think we've got something on all of those. We're going to find out. All right, let's start up here. Let's see what happens. And we're going to do just part of this card, and then we're going to call it a day. But curiosity is making me do this because it's like, I want to see what this looks like. Okay, let's go to this one. When you're using a water brush, my advice about water brush success is get a decent water brush. None of them are super expensive. This is the Pentel brand. I like it a lot. I like it because it doesn't roll away when you put it down on your surface, your table or whatever, because it's flat. You can see it's flat. You kind of get what you pay for with a water brush. If you buy a water brush where you can get 3 of them in a package for a couple of dollars, you're probably not going to be super excited about the end result you get with those. So I would encourage you to spend a little bit more. And like I said, none of them are super expensive, but I would say you're going to get your money's worth if you spend a little bit more for your water brush. Pentel's not the cheapest. I don't think it's the most expensive either, but it feeds the water pretty well, and it doesn't it doesn't feed out big glops of water. Sometimes if they don't have a pump in them. Like this has a pump action. If they don't have the pump in them, they can make a real mess because they can flood your surface, and you can't control what's happening. So that's what doesn't work very well. So all right, then we got this one up here. You can always come back in then later with, you can use gel pens, like jelly roll pens, and you can add more detail, more embellishment, or you can add more layers of color with your Inktense pencils. And so you can, it's a lot of fun to see how they will develop and what ends up showing up with that background, how it shows through and how it shows through the pigment and so forth. Okay, so here is this one. So here's this one that has the extra pigment on it. This one is just stamped over the background, but this one has the extra color added on top of it. So hopefully you can kind of see the difference in them. And then I'll go back like we did on this one and add a color behind it and activate the color behind it so that it will pop those flowers up off the background a little bit more. And here's our silly little girl. Great spot for adding a big word, or take one of those sentiment strips and put it on a piece of cardstock to bulk it up a little bit. That's a good place to do that. Anyway, so there she is. She's looking kind of funny. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. They're fun. Fun to do. Thanks for being here, everybody. I will be back on Monday evening. And until then, as always, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. Do something nice for somebody else. Be nice. Be kind. You never know what somebody's going through. That is a fact. And so when you're tempted to say something that might not be the kindest thing in the whole world to say, myself included, think before you speak. Think before you let it flow out of your fingers, and just be nice to each other. Do something nice for somebody. You never know what some small thing, how that can just totally make somebody's day. All right, I will see you again soon. Thanks for being here, everybody, and have a great weekend, or whenever you're watching. I hope you're having a great day. And if not, I hope I lightened it up for you a little bit. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.